everyone, this is Blue. Now let's do our whiteboard challenge today. Let's pick a topic. I'll just go to the hard and then reload the challenge. Now it appears in a model confirmation component, a mindfulness app, musicians. I think that's a little bit too vague. Let's just shuffle to another one. Okay, so here, design a user profile view and for a book discovery app to help teachers. I think you already do something very, very similar, but that's fine. Let's just go ahead to do it. So today we're gonna do two different things. One thing is like I'm gonna use different, I'm gonna use the pen in different colors, and also like I'm gonna try to use a different framework to go through the process. Okay, so let's go. So topic, let's just write down the topic. Topic is profile view for a book discovery app. To help teachers. So now in my new framework, the first thing that we really need to tackle is design problem. So what's the question that we're trying to answer by design? I always believe that design is like helping us to reach another status from the current status. So there's a gap between the current status and the targeted status, and the design can help us to go there. So we really need to know that what's the problem. The problem is more like something is happening now, but it's not the target status, okay? So, color. Yeah, I'm gonna use blue to write down the title, so problem. Once we take a look at into this topic, I really don't know what's the problem. So it's so can I ask whether it's an existing book discovery app, and the target audience are teachers, but why we want to redesign the profile view, and or is there a profile view existing right now or not, and what's the problem, and what's happened, what's the usability issue? I really don't know. I have no idea that why we just got into this topic. So I really want to know that what's the problem, and also regarding to the okay. So okay, as we're gonna use the new framework, so okay, keep on track. So then we assume the interviewer just responded to me, and he said that okay, the book discovery app is okay, so it's for teachers, okay? It's for teachers, and it's for teachers to expand their reading. So it's like they already got some like reading for their career, but they really want to expand their knowledge. That's why that they reach out. That's why that they downloaded this app, and that they want to discover some books, which will be the which will provide the necessary knowledge, but it's not the knowledge, or it's not the books that are already in their profession, or like in their mind. So they don't know, but they know that they need something new, but they need some knowledge, and they need some new knowledge. But the case is they don't know like what specific knowledge it is, and how they can get into it. For example, I really hope that the interviewer can give me an example. For example, there's a teacher who is teaching on psychology, okay? And he is teaching the psychology that for college student, okay? But he really wants to, and probably just for crime, this topic, this theme. And then that teacher, he wants to expand his knowledge, not just having some professional knowledge about the crime related psychology. He also wants to know something related to, for example, misbehavior or something like that. But he doesn't know that what's the good book, and what's the and how and which book is recommended and which book is useful, or like which book that he feels like he can really know more. Yeah, I know. What I'm explaining is still very vague because I just made it up. But I think in a real interview, and you probably, if you hear some very vague answer, you probably also wants to ask again. So it's like, oh, you said that he wants to expand the knowledge, but does it mean that he has a specific goal? And how would he know that that book is good? So it's like, if he discover a book, how could he know that book is good, is the perfect book for him, and how does he know that it fits them? So there are a lot of things that we can ask. So let's say the problem is like okay, so that's still the nature of this application. We haven't really dived into the problem. So the problem is like this book discovery app is using an engine with a, so and now I'm just pretending that I'm the interviewer. Then the interviewer maybe may say that, okay, the book discovery app is for example is based on an engine which is like recommended by some celebrities. Okay, celebrities in sorry, I probably use the wrong word. What I mean is like someone who has some noticeable achievement in that specific field. Okay, so for example, in the example we talked about, the teacher, he wants to know more about the psychology. Okay, so then he can go to this book engine, this book application, and then this book application will show that the famous, for example, famous professors who is the famous professors in the misbehavior psychology field, and then those professors recommend the books related to their profession. So I think that's and then now I really want to write it down. So now this book discovery app is like so I'm gonna write down that how this is gonna work. So this app already have a lot of famous professions registered, and then they will, for example, recommend some books in the field. So his field is like, just imagine star. His field is triangular. His field is circle, and then they will just recommend some book, in their field. So if the user get into this app and then they want to have some they want to gain some knowledge related to this star field, and then they just come to this app and then search for it. Okay, so that's the basic engine of this book application. And the problem is like right now there's some feedback. For example, some feedback is like the user feel hard to find out the right professions, or it's like there are too many professions recommended different books, so they don't know how to pick. It's like they just search some gold in the beach, like so many a lot of sand, just put on the beach, and they want to find out the little gold, but they don't know what's the little gold, and how to measure whether it's a gold is like after they read this book. First of all, they get whatever they want, and that really depends. So some people maybe just wants to know something that which can surprise them, for example, and someone may want to know something that, for example, is more comprehensive. So it depends. Okay, so let's say that's the problem. The problem is like a users are facing too many recommendations and don't know how to choose. Okay? Or let's say they choose the wrong one sometimes. Whatever I'm saying right now should be the information we gather from the interviewer. It's like we really need to ask them, interact with them, and then figure out what's the real problem, what's the customer's feedback, and then once they give us this feedback, we can also probe a lot of details. For example, we want to know that how many percentage of the users are facing this problem. The reason we ask that is we want to know that why we are designing. We want to know that whether by solving this problem, it can really generate some business profit or generate some other kind of benefit in long term or in short term. So, and as I said always, how to measure is valuable to improve this feature or to solve this problem is always based on some research, which should be the result of the collaboration. So we really need to collaborate with the market team and with someone who has business vision, and also someone who is in charge of the development team, so that we know that whether the effort is huge or is acceptable. Okay. So why we need to do that? We really need to know that. And also we want to know that how severe this problem is. It's like they choose the wrong items. I want to know that how they know that they choose the wrong items. It's like after reading the book, or is just why they think that it's a wrong item. And then we also need to verify the source of this comment or of this statement. We cannot say that, so it's like we need to validate whether it is something that happen to everyone, or it's just happen to very small amount of users. I'm just using some examples. So my point is we need to know the data, we need to collect the data, not just some quality data but also quantity data. Okay, so once we ask the question, then the interviewer probably tells us, well, 50% of users, they are facing this problem, and because of this problem the retention rate is very low. So usually the users just come to here once or twice, and then they don't come again. But we want them to use this application very often, so that because for example, this is just an example. And then I probably want to ask some question regarding to those professions here. Is those professions and those users are same group of people, like everyone is allowed to register a profile, and then they can just recommend books, or it's there are someone that we hired or someone that we invited. So it's somehow important to know the let's say the nature of this book discovery app, so that we know that why it can help the customer, and then on the other hand, we know that why it cannot help the customer. So okay, so let's say that the cases like everyone is allowed to register. Okay, so everyone can recommend books, and then you can just also come here and then see whether see some other one's recommendation. Okay, and then so I probably also wants to why. I think I already talked about why is we need to measure the value and effort. Okay, and oh, I should use different color. Damn. Why? And the who. Okay, I was just talking about who. I was moving too fast, but I think this is not good. If it's a real-time whiteboard challenge, I should explicitly say we're gonna discuss who right now. So who, I asked some questions regarding to who are the users and who are the people that recommended the books, and then we got the answers like everyone can build a profile and recommend some books based on their professions. And also we want to know that who is like their teachers. Okay, so and then how we can guarantee, and I mean this is somehow related to who and somehow related to the nature of the application, and how can we guarantee that they are teachers, and then why teachers are the people that gonna use this application. And also I also ask why this application is targeting teachers. So just want to know the correlation between teacher and the book discovery. So let's say if the interviewer is saying because teachers are someone that who is eager to know more so that they can be a very professional teachers. So then we already know that they're not just some regular teacher. There are some teachers who have some ambition in their career and they want to develop their professional knowledge. That's why that they come to this book discovery app. And also, I probably want to know that why they want to share the recommendations, like what's the motivation? Like, is there some engine in that application that will encourage the user to recommend the books? And also, like, how can we guarantee that the recommendation is reliable? You know, is there some way that we can, let's say that we can not verify, but at least we need to have some system and then to score the recommendation. Otherwise, everyone is just recommending everything and there's no comparison. Then it's really hard for other people to compare, right? So yeah, so I'm just trying to ask some nature of this application. This is very important. Otherwise, because we're designing a piece of feature for this application. So that's why that I think we really need to know the nature of this existing application. Maybe here, who, or I can. Okay, who, teacher, who. Okay, and then their age. Existing app is like allow everyone to register, and then encourage the recommendation by, for example, giving by giving points. So let's say that if you post some recommendation, it's like write some review about some book and say it's good or bad, you know, and then yeah, I think I just say something very interesting. So usually, so this is also a question to interviewer, okay? But just something interesting is like maybe the recommendation is not always about good books. You know, it could be a you know, negative recommendation. It's like I recommend you not to read this book. So that could be also a case. Okay, so encourage giving points. This is just something I made up. I don't think it makes sense for now, but as we are lack of time, okay? So the points maybe can, for example, the points just equal to cash, which they can use for purchasing the book. Yeah. So let's say that's the whole engine, okay? That's the existing application. And then we already tackled why and who. Then we need to know that when and where. Yeah, about when and where, I actually did it before too. When and where to me is more like a very specific, very detailed journey map of how this user is using this application. So it's like starts from, well, I want to use it. You know, start from that moment. At that moment, what's in their mind? Why they just you know, think about using this application to you know, to solve their problem, and why their problem is happening at that moment. We really need to know it. So like, and also, I think there's a very important thing that I forgot to ask. Yeah, you know, there's something in my mind. I feel like if they already got some solution provided in the Whiteboard challenge, the first thing we should ask is always what's happened to the existing app. Okay, the nature of the app, and then the target audience or something like that. Yeah, and then we can ask why. So maybe switching the order makes more sense. Okay, I'm just trying to think loud. Let's go back to where and when. So let's say where and when. When is, for example, after work, and maybe they are very relaxed at home, and then they just it's their regular reading time, and they feel like I probably should find out something different, and to expand myself, explore something new. So they have some curiosity on the knowledge right now, and then they just start to use this app. Then I'm curious, that's too quick. How could they know this application? Is it by friend's recommendation, or is by Google? I really want to know that. But let's say that they just use the but I think Google probably doesn't make sense, because if they use Google, why don't they just Google book relate to misbehavior psychology, and then probably they will find a lot of you know, results. So I think a friend's recommendation probably makes more sense. So, and then he remembered that friend recommended some book discovery app. Yeah, it just reminds me. So once we are talking about user journey, there are always two kinds of typical users. One is the first time user. Here, I'm just talking about first time user, okay? And also we can also think about the the other group of users. So here, just to make it simpler, so let's just put first-time user, okay? And also, it means the design question here, the users, really needs to say that we are gonna focus on the first-time users. So we know that all the first-time users are facing this problem once they jump into this application. So we want to solve the problem for first-time users. Yeah, this is important. This is important. Okay. So the first time, and then they just jump into this application, and then they feel like, wow, there are so many books. It's first time, and then they probably search the field. Okay. There are so many recommendations, and they don't know which one to pick, and then they probably just pick someone randomly, or pick the one that, you know, like probably they feel like, oh, I heard it before, or yeah, just I think here is something that is missing. I mean, it's probably too weird that for existing app there's no way to rank all those recommendations. So anyway, I think there's something we can do. Let's say that they have some default ranking system, and this ranking system, for example, just made by other rank. It's just for example, just made by our internal employees of this startup. I assume it's a startup. So then they just see the rank, and then they probably just pick the number one, and then they still not sure. Wow, but it should be good because they feel like it's ranked the number one. There should be some reason, right? And then they just buy the book and then read it, and then they feel like this is not what they want. So we want to improve this experience, make them to say like, okay, now I feel like I cannot pick the right one, and also here the number one ranking number one is not something that's quite persuasive. Is it the right word? I mean, it's not that convincing. So that's why that they feel like a little bit lost. But whatever, if they choose a book and then it turns out to be like sometimes they are not the right one to them. So we want to solve this problem, okay? So we already tackled why, who, and when, and where. Now we are gonna tackle about what. What is what we talk about idea. And the idea will solve this problem, okay? Okay. So I think first thing is like usually during search, I really want to know that what's the existing search. So how the search work? Is it just like a search bar, or it has some advanced search based on their interest, or based on their interest, based on their interest, or based on their based on other kind of metrics, for example, the length of the book, or some other stuff. So like whether it received some award, those things. So I want to know that, and probably the search. How can I say if we change the search into something that more advanced, and then we can provide a result which will match the user's viewing. Okay, so that's really important. And another thing is also like I want to know that what's the existing ranking system. And as I said, let's say that right now it's just some manual rank. It doesn't really make sense. Okay, so we have to rank it based on that user. Yeah, and also I think today I'm not in a very good mood. I don't know why. Maybe I'm too tired. I think, as I said, we know that the topic is about profile view, but I didn't really talk about it because I think we shouldn't focus on here. At the beginning, because this is more like a solution, but we should focus on the problem, the question first. And then I want to know that how the ranking system, the ranking system, usually what I saw for most application, for example Amazon, whatever you see is just based on the majority of people. I mean, that's probably one way of ranking the stuff. Another way of ranking is more like based on your profile, based on different person may have different interest, may have different preference. So you cannot say that the same list will be the perfect list for everybody. So we should have dynamic ranking, and then this dynamic ranking is somehow based on profile. Okay. So it's like based on the profile, and then when they do the advanced search, we will provide them some ranking, some book which is ranked by machine learning. Yeah, that could be a way. And another thing is another opportunity I see is once they buy the book and then read it, and then they feel like that's not good. I mean, I think if it's offline experience, there is probably hard for us to collect some immediate feedback. But let's say if it's online reading, and then one way that we can do it is like for example, after they decide to take a look at this book, and then they just open the book and start to read, and they feel like that's not something I want. And maybe at this moment we can just refund, or we don't ask the user to pay for it. And in this way, they won't feel like they lose a lot by choosing the wrong thing, and they probably will feel like, wow, they already somehow gained other kind of difference of reading. So yeah, so that could be a way make them feel better when they choose the wrong item. But that's also important. Okay. So reading, try for free. Okay. And also, I think if they really try it for free, we already collect some data points, which is like this person is not interested in this book. So we somehow build a correlation between the profile and then their, between the user ID and then their preference. This is very important because the user ID may contain some contextual information like the age, the profession, and if we know that for those kind of people, they don't like this kind of book, maybe we can just use it to build a better machine learning model, and it will just benefit our dynamic ranking. Okay, I already got 3 ideas, and It's already 34 minutes. Why is always so quick? Anyway, so we already go to what? We have to go to the next step. Okay, how this gonna work? And then before we dive into next step, of course, we need to choose the idea. And also, sometimes we don't really need to pick it. We can just combine the idea. Personally, I think all those things can be combined. Yeah. But if in reality, we also need to have a meeting with all the stakeholders and also the dev guys. We also need to invite them to make an estimation of the effort and to see whether it's doable, because it's always about effort and value mathematic thing. Okay, how we're gonna, let's say that we already had a meeting and it went well and everything is doable, and then let's say that how can we improve the whole stuff. This is not just about profile view anymore. So, but it's not related. So let's say that we focus on this part. I don't really like to design this way, because I think what we talk about is about the whole flow. I think we should start from the whole flow. Okay, so search. Yeah. Okay, so we're still talking about the first time user. So one idea could be like they jump into this application and then they fill out some information. And that information could be their age and their professions, and also yeah, that could be already yeah, the age is like we don't really need to gather the specific date. So to reduce the input effort, we can just ask them like age range, or just the number of the age, like 32 or 31. We don't really need to know that whether he is born in September. And then professions, and also we can ask them what's their interest. What's their interest? Why I'm always saying it in the wrong way? It's like we can guess. You read those books before, and then let them to pick which one you like. This is probably not that good, because it's hard for us to know which one they really read before, or it's like they just didn't read it. That's why they skip this part. So then we probably need to do two steps. So we need to ask them like which one you have read before, and if they say none of them, wow, that's interesting. And we can probably encourage them to type in or to search the book they have read before, and then we can ask them like how, for example, they have read 3 books, and we can ask them how much they like it. Well, this is tricky, because if we do it in this way, usually people will just take, and they don't think. So one way of doing it is like we can, after they say I read it before, and then we can just show up the ranking system. So it's like so it's like not exactly step by step. It's more like pick whatever you read, and then pick whatever you read before, and then rank it, and pick another book that you read before, and then rank it. Then it's like dum da dum da dum da dum da, and not like dum 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 dum. Yeah, that's the difference. So after they fill out those information, that we can show the profile view. Okay. one cool thing is like we can probably create a bookshelf for them, and then this is some book they read before, and then also including the ranking that they have. If they didn't rank at this moment, that's fine. They can always do it, at any moment. And then maybe here. I think we should do it in another way. We should put the profile in the right hand and put the left part. Let's try to. One thing that actually is pretty obvious that for every application, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I cannot think about whether there is some application that don't want the user to be very active. I think all the applications want the user to be very, very active. So we should put something that they can interact, at the most prominent place, rather than put something that's static in the prominent space. Okay. Here we want to show what's the recommended book for them before they even search anything. I think in this way we somehow have a active interaction area in the prominent space, and this is also good for our market. And this is something okay, and then they can or here we can give them some navigation things, or you can go back to the market. Oh, this is not good. I'm trying to draw an arrow, and this is some regular search. Okay, not regular search, I mean the search, but they can always go back to the marketplace, the feed place, where they can view a lot of books. So that's also something that I'm not very sure now. After they fill out the information, whether we should direct them to the feed or we should direct them to the user profile, center. Well, I don't know. I mean, if in reality, I probably will do some user test to see which one. Oh, that's my dog. To see which one that, first of all, the user feels more natural, and the other thing we need to consider is like which one that will encourage more interaction. I think the benefit of having it in this way is like they have some association about whatever they have done is there. It's not just it's not like we are an evil startup. We collect information and sell you information. It's like we collect the information because we display those information here. It's not like a mysterious gone. So but also that we already spent some, it's like then in other way it means it's already the third step, but we haven't introduced the main screen. Or we can also think about it in other ways, like what should be the main screen? Should this be the main screen or should this be the main screen? Well, that really depends on the vision of this application. Yeah, so we also need to talk or to discuss if we solve this problem, if everything is fine, if the users are so active, and then what's going to happen to this application? Are we going to expand the services this application is providing, or we're gonna just always keep the same service, book discovery, forever? So it really depends, and I think we already do it for 44 minutes, so we have to close it. Yeah, I think it's fine to spend a lot of time discussing the problem, even though we have very little time to do the real screen design. But I don't think that's a big deal, because you can always present your UI design skill in your portfolio presentation section. Okay. Okay. Thank you guys. Bye.